to Joe Goes Everywhere, a Big Blend radio food, wine, and travel podcast featuring award-winning photographer and travel writer Joe Clark. Let's find out where she's taking us today. Welcome, everyone. Very excited because Joe is taking us to Oregon, to Willamette Valley region, and she's taking us to a park. We love when she takes us hiking and out to see waterfalls, right? This is where we're going?
Yes, waterfalls. This park has 10 waterfalls. I'm not showing you all 10.
Okay, but 10 waterfalls is pretty epic. And so this is Silver Falls State Park in Oregon?
Yes, in Silverton, Oregon.
In Silverton. So how accessible is this from wine country and from Portland, places that people are going to know?
About an hour. Yeah, when you look it up, it's like 34 miles or 41 minutes or something like that when you start looking it up, but it's not true. You can't do it in that because there's too many stoplights and too much traffic to get out of when you're like in McMinnville or Newburgh and you go through Dundee and Dayton and somewhere else and somewhere else. By the time you go through 6 little towns full of stop signs and stoplights, it's an hour. I don't care.
But it's a beautiful drive out there.
It is. It is. And it's interstate part of the way. So that part's pretty quick. The GPS, I put in the street address that I found, I guess on their website, but I had an actual house number and street address. So we're barreling down the road and I see a brown, state park sign, a brown sign. And I go, oh, that might be our exit. But we whizzed by so fast, I didn't get a good chance to read it. And the GPS was still saying, go on 2 more miles. So we went and it went in the backside, which worked out fine. And I think we came back out that way too. So follow your GPS or follow the sign on the highway. Either way, you get there.
That's awesome, though. I mean, it's so beautiful. Oregon is just such a gorgeous state, and the forests and everything, waterfalls. I mean, it's epic to do this. In fact, during COVID, when we did this, we worked with a campaign called Still in Business, and it was about all the bed and breakfasts. And part of this, we have the story on it on how to go to stay at a bed and breakfast. And there's a waterfall for each bed and breakfast, basically in the same region. And I think you stayed at one of the bed and breakfasts that we did, a Tuscan estate.
Yes, I did.
Isn't it wonderful?
It is. A Tuscan is wonderful. It's easy to get to. It's like 4 blocks from down to McMinnville. So you don't have to have a car. You don't have to worry about parking. Yeah, once you're there, you can just stay parked in the driveway and walk downtown. And
it's got a beautiful garden. I mean, to sit outside and drink your wine out in the garden. And it's a historic inn. It's very historic and beautiful.
It is.
So that's cool. I'm glad you got there.
Delicious breakfast.
Oh, yeah. The breakfast is it's a spread. That is a spread. That was very nice. I love staying at bed and breakfast.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, let's get to
they know all the good spots. They can tell you the good spots to go and visit, and then they feed you every morning. What could be better?
I remember when we went there that first night, they were like, okay, you can walk downtown, get dinner or something. And we did a different road by accident. We weren't doing what we were supposed to. And I don't know, we ended up at a beer tasting room. And I don't know, it got a little dark by the time we walked back, and we're like, where are we? It was one of those nights, and we're like, "Woo, okay!" And then we found
there's a GPS on your phone.
I do, but I don't know. There was a sign for a brewery tasting, and I'm like, and they had all these different Oregon beers, and then we started tasting, and then people started, have you tried this one? And we're like, okay. So we did an Oregon brewery tasting experience, which was wonderful,
fun too.
It was fun. So McMinnville's a wonderful town too. Very just gorgeous. But this park, I'm excited about this because, like I said, I love Oregon. I know our listeners are going to enjoy this, and our parks and travelers are going to dig this too, because waterfalls are always just a magical experience. But
they are.
There's a lot of different trails in there. And isn't this the largest state park?
It's the largest state park in Oregon, over 9,000 acres. And 10 waterfalls. Who can argue with those numbers? And the first one you get to immediately, it's, you could, if you had only 15 minutes You could go down and see the first one, the South Falls, and get back in your car and be back on the road if that was all the time you had.
Wow.
You'd cry the rest of the day, but you could do it. You could.
Wow. And there's a trail in there that you were talking about. I think that's one you didn't get to because, I mean, this is a big park. You can't hike it all in one day. Was it a fern trail? Is that a fern? There was a with ferns on it. I think I was
No,
reading.
I got pictures of a lot of the ferns.
Oh, yeah.
That's all around the South Falls and Lower South Falls. You have a loop that goes around those. But as you're coming back up those hills, especially one side is steps, stairways, and the stairway is kind of up against the side of a mountain. On the other side of the pond and the water, it's like you're looking down into the gorge where the water is on one side and sort of down another gorge on the other side. You're sort of walking on a kind of a crest of a hill, climbing like the ridge of a hill. And so you're looking down on both sides into more what we would call here in South Carolina, we just call it wetlands because there was enough water down in there that it encouraged the growth of all those ferns. So they had the ferns, they had these towering, majestic Douglas firs. It was a beautiful,
Wow.
beautiful day.
Sounds beautiful to me, and I love the ferns. It sounds like Jurassic Park kind of country.
Right? Right?
Yeah. So are the trails easy to do? I know you got stairs, but what would you think for different? Do you have to be like really, really fit?
No, because I'm really, really not.
Oh, but you do yoga on the beach, so I know you
I
got
do
fitness.
I
Mhm.
walk 4 miles almost every day
She's
on the
fit.
beach.
Okay.
The key here is on the beach. That is
Flat.
flat. That is sea level. That is not climbing mountains. So I don't consider myself really fit because when I started climbing back out of that hole, I was panting. I was stopping. I visited every bench. There's switchbacks as you're
Mhm.
walking on the not the step side, but the other side because it would be seriously straight up if you didn't. So, as we would do the two switchbacks, I called them the zigzags. So, you'd zig, and then when you zagged at the corner of the zag, there would be a bench. So, I would sit down and try it out for a few minutes, and then we would zig, and then we'd zag, and I'd sit down again because I don't do hills anymore. I haven't
Yeah.
done hills in 30 years. Makes a
Well,
difference.
and then you've got a good appetite after that, right? And then you get to
I
have wine after that, right?
Wine. Yes, we had wine. We had a delicious meal at Trellis that night. So
Mm.
I worked up an appetite and I was glad I did because
Mm.
they just kept on bringing out food and I was perfectly happy to eat it.
Yeah. Well, I think, you're doing hills and everything like that, but getting these waterfalls, I mean, I love them,
I do. I love the waterfalls.
and it's
Um,
different because it's not in a tropical climate either. It's a little
right.
different, and,
Yep.
and just all the ruggedness and, all of that to me is just like, okay, this is cool. So do you think a lot of people know about it or is it kind of hidden? Or do people know, do you think?
Since it's the biggest park in the state, I think word is out. We went on a Thursday, and that's my expert tip. If you're
Mhm.
going to this Silver Falls Park, go during the week, during the school year.
Yeah, yeah.
School was already back in session, and we went during the week. So that limited the number of people and kids that were there. I think if you went on a Saturday or Sunday, it would be a lot more crowded. And if you went in the summer, I think it would be packed.
Yeah, that because it's so beautiful and it's nice and cool, especially because you were in the summer. Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
wants to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah. I want to go in spring because I always think waterfalls in spring are always just like,
Yeah,
wow.
because they've had all that extra water.
That's my
Because I've
thing. But
seen pictures of
yeah,
these two falls that are a lot prettier than my pictures, a lot fuller and a lot more
yeah,
volume. So they had had a lot of rain before those pictures were taken.
yeah. That's the thing. It's all different, right? Now,
It's
what about
always
this
different.
lodge? Because you went to a lodge. I love old lodges and parks.
That
Really
old
do.
lodge. Well, and this was all done by the CCC, and my grandfather and my uncle during the late 30s worked for the CCC in Virginia. So that was kind of a cool connection there that this park, the the trails, the railings, the lodge, all these things had been built during the 30s and 40s by the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps.
I think it was one of the best programs we ever had that put
Yeah,
America back on track. I mean, it was after the Dust
yeah,
Bowl and the Depression, and it put people back to work and
right.
outside, which I think helps your
It does,
emotional
helps your
health, wellness.
mental, yeah,
And
that
you go through,
mental,
yeah,
yeah,
it,
the mental facilities are that's the first thing that brings your body back is if you can get your mind clear and happy, the body follows.
I love that part about nature. It's like whenever you're disturbed, just go outside. Just go outside. Mama nature will heal you. She will. She'll take
Yes,
good
it
care
will.
of you. But yeah, doing this, I think that's so smart because people are depressed. I mean, you've got a depression going on. It's going to depress you.
Yep,
It's like
yep,
you can't
everything
just
was
have your
depressed.
chocolate cake. Yeah, I
The
know.
economy and the people.
Yeah. And so getting outside makes you realize that we do have more than what we think, you know?
Yes, absolutely. It's a beautiful day, and all that God-given beauty is there
Mm.
for the taking. It's free.
So the lodge, can people stay in the lodge or is this more of like a
No,
food
this is
place?
yeah, they have the places that you can stay. They have cabins. I don't think the lodge had any rooms there, but it was a place where you could eat. They have a place to hang out and sit and rest and have a meal, have lunch or have an early dinner, bowl of soup or just a cup of coffee. But the lodge atmosphere is just really cool. That Northwest
Mm.
lodge, we don't see much of in the South, but we know it when we see it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, this is cool. Like this. So that's a nice little break in between the hiking.
Yeah, that was at the it was at the top. We like I said, I met somebody that said, "Oh, go a certain way, go around South Fall, go behind South Fall, and then down that side, and that way you go down all those steps, which is easy." And she was right. But then what she didn't tell us was then when you make the other side and you have to come back up, it's a mountain straight up and lots of zigzags and no steps. But boy, that was a climb and a half.
And
By
you're
the
just
time you
thinking there's wine at the end.
I know, and that's where the lodge is. It's when you come up that side after you finally get to the top and it levels out, that's where that lodge is. So you're ready to sit down and breathe.
Breathe was the
Whether
first
you
thing.
eat or drink makes no difference. You're just so glad to sit down.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, it is interesting talking about this as travelers. We have to acclimate to where our new place is. And it does take time. I mean, you're used to South Carolina, walking the beach, nice and
Flat
flat.
levels,
And now suddenly Oregon's like, come on to the rugged
zero
country.
elevation,
Yeah, yeah.
10 feet.
I mean, our body went into shock when we went between Asheville, North Carolina, and New Orleans, and suddenly we're
Yeah.
below sea level, and we forgot about the humidity is a whole different thing, and we're like, whoa, wait a minute,
That
water.
out there, at least there was not much humidity. They were talking about how bad the humidity was that day, and I thought, I don't even feel it. And I looked it up on my phone, and it was like 47%.
Oh
I
yeah,
said, do you want me to tell you what humidity is where I'm from
yeah,
right
yeah.
now? 98%.
My hair starts to get a little curly in the South. The little humidity does something, and I'm like,
Doesn't get long, it gets big.
it gets curly, but then, yeah, it gets interesting. My hair color changes as we travel. It's very weird. I don't know what it's about, but who knows. But now, okay, so this is the Trail of 10 Falls. So is that the main
Do
loop?
the whole thing. And
Okay.
we did the one loop back around instead of the whole big 7.2 mile loop. We did what they called, I don't know, I think they called it 2.5 miles. That is not what my phone called it.
Did you get your 10,000 steps in?
And then some.
Yeah. Well, this is cool though. I love being able to get those adventures out. And, when we do all these media trips, as travel writers, that sometimes they don't allow us to actually do the hike. So I'm glad that,
Yeah.
it's like, no, you got to go to the next place, next place, next place.
You can
Yeah.
walk 50 feet in, take your picture and turn around and come back because we're going somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So
That's
stay
that's
midweek.
not that doesn't happen when you plan the trip yourself.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
only reason we didn't do more was we had breakfast at the inn and it was served at 9 o'clock. We didn't have a choice at that
Yeah. Yeah.
particular inn. So it was a little later than I really wanted to be leaving. We should have skipped breakfast, in truthfulness.
And
And
who
I
wants
had
to skip a breakfast at a bed and breakfast?
well, we did,
Yeah.
and we didn't. But then I also had plans to interview a chef and have dinner at starting shortly after 4 o'clock.
Mm.
So that made our window of like 8 to 3 all of a sudden
Yeah.
10 to 2.
Because you got to drive as well. But, but that's, you got some, 4
But
hours
we
of good natured therapy. That was awesome though.
Yeah, we did. It was beautiful.
Mm.
It was a great day.
Well, I want to tell people too that you've got a great article. It's up on nationalparktraveling.com. The link is in the episode notes. Don't forget to keep up with Jo also on her sites, recipestravelculture.com and haveglasswooltravel.com. And if you're on Instagram, Jo goes everywhere because she does, including on this podcast. At the end of the article, though, she also has a list of where to eat, where to stay, because she did all of that really well. And also some other places and attractions that you can go to. Like you went to the Evergreen, that aviation museum, which Nancy and I did not have time to get into we'll get into the food and everything, but tell us, that had to have been epic to go to because that history is incredible.
It was, and it's huge. And they started out, I don't have all that story in my article, so it's not in my head either, but they started out really small with just a few small planes. Somehow, I think Walt Disney had the Spruce Goose,
That's right.
Howard Hughes plane, and they were going to get rid of it. They didn't want to care for it anymore. They didn't want to have to do the renovations that needed to be done, the maintenance. And so somehow they got the Spruce Goose. So once you have the biggest airplane ever built, you got to build the biggest hangar ever built if you want to put it inside. And basically that's what they did. It's like, okay, we have this monstrosity plane. We need to build a museum around it, and then we can fill up the museum. So it's really cool. You walk in and here's the Spruce Goose that you can see in the picture, that the wings are almost wall to wall and nose to tail is almost the length of the building. And all around it are planes on the floor, planes suspended from the air, and it's in the airplane, the aviation part. Across the campus, beautiful green, gorgeous green campus, straight across on the opposite end of the campus is another equally large building. I don't know if they're identical, but they're both huge, and it's filled with the space museum artifacts. So they've got space capsules. You go down into the body, almost the basement of this building, and you are in what I equated from all the pictures I saw of those first space flights of, Houston, we have liftoff, and, all those TV screens and the desk and the small little computers that they had then. So it's a whole room of that. So you feel like you're in the NASA office. It just is so cool.
I really wanted to go.
Words for it. It gives you chills to see that and remember what you remember as a child or as a teenager, what you remember happening and seeing.
Amazing. That is cool. I know.
They have a full-size missile. Yeah, just amazing stuff. And it's these massive glass and steel buildings. So when you're in the building, and you can tell it from some of the pictures that I've taken, it looks like the plane is getting ready to just fly right out of the building because there's nothing there but glass. And then outside, surrounding all these buildings, and there's a theater too, an IMAX theater. So you've got the two museums on each end, and in between, over to the side, is an IMAX theater. And then out on the grass and on pedestals and things, you see airplanes and helicopters. So outside is more display. There's an Air Force One out there. So it's just really, really cool. It's
Man,
every
it sounds like,
airplane you can imagine.
yeah, if you're into aviation history, you must go.
And even if you're not, if you're just into history and old movies, like the right stuff, you see these things and you're like, that's what he was in and that's what
Okay.
he was flying. It just all kinds of neat things.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm glad you went. Nancy and I just didn't have time when we were there. We were just there overnight. We did the downtown McMinnville, and it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. I love the charming downtown and the sculptures like Ben Franklin and everybody's all
Oh yeah,
sculpted
yeah. He's
down
he's
there.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's down there on the bench on the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I saw
let's talk about where you stayed. A Tuscan estate bed and breakfast, y'all. So we got, three of us who loved it there. And then you did another bed and
and
breakfast
we
too.
can't be wrong. We have excellent taste.
We
Wow.
have to try everything, so you know. Yeah,
We
you
have
did
to
three
try it so
B&Bs.
you don't have to. You can just go straight to the best places.
So how is Chehalem? Chehalem?
Chehalem Ridge Bed and Breakfast. It is way up on the very top of a ridge, just looking out over the entire Willamette Valley. And
Wow.
get up early in the morning and you see little specks in the sky and you start trying to figure out, what is that? Is that a plane?
It's
And
the
then you
spruce
realize
goose.
it's not the spruce goose, it's balloons. It's hot air balloons. So
Oh.
I got to sit out on my balcony off my bedroom and watch the morning evolve with
Wow.
one morning. I think there were 6 hot air balloons out there, and I kept wishing for a stronger breeze so they'd blow
Mm,
close to me. My pictures are little teeny balloons. I wanted, good pictures. And I didn't know they had those balloon rides soon enough, or I'd have been in one instead of looking at
exactly.
one.
And you would have the
We only had
champagne
2
at the
days
end.
left. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the time I found out about them, we only had 2 days left.
Now you also stayed at another bed and breakfast, the Willamette Valley Bed and Breakfast.
We
That's in
did.
Newburgh, right?
It's over in just outside Newburgh, and they have, I forgot how many acres he told me they had, if it was 20 or 30 acres. They've got a pretty good piece of land. They have barn, they have chicken coop, cute chicken coop. You'll have to see the pictures of the chicken coop. But you can go out in the morning before breakfast and meet the chickens, that way who produced that omelet that you have later.
That'd be nice. Yeah, check out the chickens. The chickens.
Yep. And
Yeah.
they have that garden out there. So, I'm out there looking and going, oh, we have honeydew, we have
Oh,
cantaloupe. I bet we have some of that on our breakfast plate. And sure enough, we did.
mm,
They had apple trees and, all kinds of fruit trees and vegetables growing out in their little garden.
love that. I love that. Now, what about the
too.
I can't pronounce it be a whiskey.
It does.
Mm.
And they have their own label of whiskey. How funny you mentioned that. Maybe you've.
I did not know. I did not know. Are you kidding me? See?
I am not kidding. No, they have McMinnville. It's in the case behind the cash register. You can buy your own bottles to take home.
So
It's
this
a
is a,
19.
go ahead. No, I was going to say, so they have a bar or is it?
3 bars. They have 3 different bars. There's one that's more of a pub. There's one
Nice.
down in the basement, like a speakeasy that you go to and behind the wine cellar. And there's one on the roof, up on the roof.
That.
And
Did
the
you go to all
hotel,
3?
yeah, of course I did.
Just
Yep.
making sure you're doing your job.
I take my job very seriously.
I know
I
you
have
do.
to investigate everything. But it's a 1905 hotel right in downtown McMinnville, which is kind of
Oh,
neat since, McMinnville and now McMinnville bought Hotel Oregon. Because
okay.
McMinnville's has other hotels, different places, and
Okay.
they buy old historic buildings and add their own little quirky twists to them. So it's pretty cool.
I think I walked by there. I think so when we were downtown.
Probably. It's huge.
I think
It's right
so.
on the corner in on the main street in the historic district.
So these are some good, and everyone, these are all listed in the article, so that'll make it easy for planning your trip. We were talking, there's seeing McMinnville's. We were talking about where to drink, and we'll get to the food because you're going to need that. But you went to wineries. Oh my gosh, You visited
That's got a
24.
whole article of its own.
That's coming. 20, you went to 24 wineries out of how many?
24 wineries. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But remember, I was only there 10 days,
Yeah, that's
and one
pretty.
day was at a waterfall.
Yeah.
So, in
So
my own defense, I didn't have a lot of time.
did you enjoy? Did you enjoy the wines?
My goodness, yes. I mean,
Man.
Willamette Valley is known for its Pinot Noir,
Mm.
which is that was the first thing I remember having years ago, and knowing this particular wine that I like was from the Willamette Valley. So I had that sort of a point of reference. But now they're like other places. Now they grow everything too. So we had reds, we had whites, we had rosés, we had sparklings.
Mm.
It's an amazing place, and there's something like 800. I forget which is which, but there's like 800 wineries and over 900 vineyards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's
So
big.
I just say it's nearly
fabulous.
900 wineries.
Yeah.
Because most of the vineyards are making wine too.
And you went to one of our friends. You went to see one of our friends,
We
um,
did.
Bell's Up Winery, Dave and
Yep.
Sarah. So
Dave and Sarah.
I
And
love
they
their
were
wine.
their
Isn't their
wines
wine,
were wonderful.
isn't it amazing? And they
And
don't
they
just do Pinot Noir either. It's
no,
great.
he starts you right off with champagne or sparkling.
Sparkling. And it's on an old Christmas tree farm. So I wonder if that changes the taste of the wine. I was like,
Maybe because that's putting different things back into the dirt, back into
yeah.
the soil. Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, well, I can't wait for this when we talk wine. That's going to be exciting. But
Yeah.
you also went to a sangria bar. So
Yes.
this is near the winery too, right? Newburgh is
It
where.
is. It's near Bell's Up. It's near Chehalem Ridge Bed and Breakfast. It's near, not too far from one of the other bed and breakfasts is close by there too.
Tustin?
No, that's
Willamette
actually
B&B.
in McMinnville. Willamette Valley is just outside Newburgh. Yeah, it's not far either. But this young girl, I call her a young girl. She's in her 20s, I would say. That's young.
It's young. 30s are young.
Yes, they are now.
Yeah. 40s are young.
Harvest Moon Sangria Bar. So she had a sangria bar that she already started, the very first sangria bar in Oregon.
Gosh, I've never heard of a sangria bar.
And so and she's from Newburgh. So she had opened her sangria bar, though, maybe 20 miles away. I'm trying to think of the name of that town. But she came back home and opened a second location now in downtown Newburgh. And so she has some wonderful sangrias, and she uses Oregon wines to make the sangrias. So you're getting local wines. The blackberry, they called it the wild bramble. But that one is, all I had to do was read that description, and I knew I had to try that, and it was wonderful. And then I realized that you could have a flight of 3 different sangrias. So why would you buy one if you could have 3?
Yep.
Silly me.
So she
And
had to try 'em all.
they had shareable plates, so you could eat dinner there, and we did. We ended up where we had planned to go for dinner ended up being closed the night
Oh.
that we wanted to go, and we discovered this little place, and it was just divine. And the shareable plates, when she brought out the nachos, it was like a mountain of nachos. It would have been enough for 3 people, I think, not 2. It didn't say
I
how
love
many you
that.
had to share with.
Those kind of things where it's little snacky kind of appetizers.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of times appetizers are a full meal for me, just depends on what it is.
And if not,
Sometimes-
you just order another appetizer.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's like, oh, this was so good. Can I have more?
Yep.
But
Yep.
this sounds like you really had a good time. Now, eating, okay, we talked about that now. Trellis, you were talking about Trellis being,
Goodness.
yeah, tell us about Trellis.
Trellis, they try to have local, at least Oregon local, fresh, locally sourced foods and dishes. And that is in Dundee, which is another one of the little towns in this area. And none of them are that far apart, 15, 20 minutes apart maybe. But we had oysters on the half shell with a apple cilantro mignonette. I think that's how you say it. Diced up vinegary refreshing little bite that you add to the oysters. They have a wine selection that covers like the entire wall of
Wow,
one end of the building.
this is good.
Yeah, they just had excellent food. All the foods were good, and the desserts were just to die for.
Well, you were talking about local, and this kind of ties into hiking. One of the things about Oregon is they are known for their mushrooms. I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Pig with Nicolas Cage, but anyway,
Right?
yeah, with mushrooms.
That now you're talking about Joel Palmer House.
That's
Every
right.
every dish had to do with mushrooms.
I love
Even the
this.
desserts. The desserts weren't necessarily mushrooms, but the little cake and the frosting and the cookies were made to look like a little
This
mushroom,
is
and
my
you'd get
kind
a
of
little
place.
shovel to eat it with. How cute! They
My
were
gosh.
but they had mushroom soup, and then on the top of the mushroom soup, of course, the mushroom soup is like a dark chocolate brown,
Mhm.
like coffee or chocolate would be. So they have a white piping that is, I think, truffle and had drawn cute little
Oh,
mushroom on the top of the soup. So it's just darling. It's so
my.
much attention to detail that it's almost too pretty to eat. Almost.
And then you went to Copito's Cocina, Cocina, Cocina. I love my Mexican food, and
That was wonderful. They had
oh,
live music.
ah,
It was walking distance from one of the wine tastings that we did. I think that was the one that was right up the street from Pete.
and then
I
you
think
had pizza. You had pizza.
we yeah, Pizza Capo. They have wood-fired pizzas, and they had a Beretta pizza.
Well, that's always good.
I love Beretta, and a Beretta pizza, oh my goodness, it was delicious.
So that's pizza capo or capo, depending on how you
Capo,
want to play.
capo. Yeah, they
Pizza
they call
capo.
it capo,
And then
capo.
pinch is like with a little, we were just talking about having appetizers and small plates. This is
And
cool.
again, that was the walking distance. The first night we were at a Tuscan, she
Okay.
told us, go to Pinch for dinner. So we got directions and walked down the street and went to Pinch for dinner that night. And when I saw the squid ink pasta on the daily special card, and I've never had it. I've seen it on the Food Network. Everybody ends up having to make squid ink pasta in one of the cooking competitions. So when I saw that, I was in, and it was delicious.
So that's, because, Oregon has just got that bounty of fruits, vegetables, berries, nuts,
And
dairy,
fresh, yeah.
dairy, cheese. I mean, come on, it's known for Tillamook. And then you've got on top of that, all the mushrooms, the breweries, the wineries, the
The
seafood. I mean,
truffles,
oh boy. So Oregon is just like, if you want to, that's why they
foodie
have all these
paradise.
hikes. You need to
Yep.
go hiking, go to your parks, and they have a beautiful downtown a park downtown in McMinnville too that we went to. Huge, huge playground for kids where they're doing like a crawling thing, and there's a specific kind of playground that it's like a little castle that they're able to crawl through. So
It's pretty neat.
yeah, so that's kind of cool. And when it's for kids, we kind of eye it out, how we
Right?
are. But the other thing I want,
And they have once a week, they have, I think it's on Thursday, it might be Wednesday or Thursday, but they have a big farmer's market,
cool.
and they shut down half of the streets and have this huge farmer's market. And even the distilleries come and set up tables. So at the farmer's market, you can buy, fresh tomatoes, get fresh local cheese, boozy ice cream. That was
Oh,
really good. The purple hooter.
yep.
Yeah,
Well,
that was good. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And then go sample some distilled liquids and make your purchases. But
awesome.
McMinnville is just such a neat town. So much
Yeah,
to do.
in closing in McMinnville, when you stayed at you're gonna have to do it.
McMinimans.
McMinimans. And the pub, did you eat in the pub? Like, is it like
We
pub food?
did. We did. They have pub food, and they have specials. And on Friday night, they have prime rib, and I love prime rib, so I made a beeline for the pub for Friday night. We got there late. I think it was probably 8 o'clock, but they weren't out, so I was in luck, and we had prime rib that night, and I was a happy girl.
A lot of hiking, waterfalls, nature therapy, wine, beer, and all of this bounty. So it sounds like a
And
fantastic time.
yep, yep,
Ah,
everything you could ask for.
love it. Everyone, check the link in the episode notes or go to nationalparktraveling.com. You will see the article by Joe talking about Silver Falls, so state park. So the largest state park, 9,000 acres. A lot of hiking to do so that you can go eat, drink, and be merry. Sounds good, Joe. Next month, she's taking us to California. We're going to go to Buena Park and Santa Ana. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So much
Another
heritage,
foodie paradise.
but a lot of murals.
Yes.
Really good food. Yeah, you're right.
The food is just everywhere you go.
Man, so looking forward to that. So thanks and cheers to you. Do you still have any Willamette Valley wine left, or is
Just a
she does?
touch.
She always makes sure she has wine. Well,
I
cheers.
do. Cheers. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us. Keep up with Big Blend Radio's Joe Goes Everywhere podcast on bigblendradio.com. Keep up with Joe's adventures. Go to haveglasswilltravel.com and recipiestravelculture.com.